Hello and welcome in. It is week 5 of the NFL season. I'm your host, Pat Bradley, joined as always by my friends and co-hosts Carl Mann and Tommy Sullivan. And this is the Three Man Rush podcast, America's most beloved casual NFL gambling podcast for casual NFL gamblers. Carl, who else loves this podcast?
Your mom, my mom, all the moms, and especially Zach Wilson.
Shout out to Zach Wilson, future friend of the show. Tommy is just shaking his head in disbelief. And you know what? He's allowed to do that because after this week, I have officially – it's no longer the Tommy spot. Tommy, what should we call it?
I think we should call it the Patrick spot.
And where is the Patrick spot?
Oh, right at the bottom, dead last, baby.
Dead last, baby. I am
the Houston Texans.
Oh man, that is me and Lovie Smith just in the club, bottle full of bub, celebrating our shot at CJ. I don't even know his name. CJ Stroud, yeah. Stroud. Good. CJ Stroud. I should get to know him a little bit better because, like the Houston Texans, I am in full contention to get the number 1 overall pick on this podcast. Let's just dive right in, and without further ado, I'm gonna put you guys on the spot. Carl, the Philadelphia Eagles are the only undefeated team left in the National Football League. Are they the best team in football?
I would say no. They're not the best team. I mean, record-wise, you are what your record says you are. So technically, they are the best team in football. And we've gone over this numerous times, but on the unreleased preview pod, which will come out eventually when the time is right, when we can get 1 million views on YouTube.
Hashtag release the preview pod.
For real. We said that they were going to have this start. So, do I think that they are the best team in the league? No. They're going to ride this momentum as far as they can, though. But I would say, my Tampa Bay Buccaneers are probably one of the best teams in the league. They just don't have the record to show for it.
Even after Sunday night, we're going to get into that.
We got Vengeance Brady now. He's going to be playing free. He's going to be playing angry. He's got to justify his decisions. I'm sure we'll talk about what we're actually referring to later on in this podcast. But
funny you should say that. Playing free, vengeance, totally because he just lost to Patrick Mahomes in October, right? That's the only thing going on in his life.
That's okay. I mean, sometimes you need to lose in October to win in January. So February, technically, I guess.
And if anybody would agree with that, it's Giselle, who's been by his side for 22 years. So Tommy, more on the Eagles. What do you think? Are they the best team in the NFL?
I don't know if I would go with the NFL. I'll go back to the same thing that I've been saying pretty much all year. The Buffalo Bills have played the past 2 weeks without 90% of their secondary, and they're still sitting at 3-1. So I think that they're still in the upper echelon. But if we're gonna just hound our favorite teams, then I guess the Patriots should probably be in discussion for the best team in the NFL. If we're gonna talk about the Bucs up here, geez.
Who's our quarterback right now?
Well, okay. It's a fair point because we're just going to go all over the board here and dive right in because I apologize to our listeners. I really should have led with this. Sunday was pretty iconic. I think we could call it a passing of the torch game, not from Brady to Mahomes, but from Rodgers to Bailey Zappi. Future savior of not just the New England Patriots, but the National Football League. Everybody needs a villain, and the Patriots need to be the face. They need a face of villainy, and that chipper, dashing, charming young man, Mac Jones, McCorkle, he's just not a bad guy. Bailey Zappi, though, that is a bad man, and we saw it on Sunday. WWE Bailey. There you go. So fuck the Eagles, fuck the Bucks. Is Bailey Zappi the future face of the league?
Are we the Bailey buddies?
I think we officially have to be the Bailey buddies. That's it. I mean, listen, if Bailey Zappi's going to come in and do this, do what he did, just take Aaron Rodgers, push him to the limit. I don't really understand how we could talk about anything else but him being the future face of the league. So who needs a 1-3 start? I mean, who needs a 4-0 start when you could be 1-3 but have Bailey Zappi coming in to take over?
I apologize to everybody for my one little sarcastic comment just leading to this conversation.
Okay. All right. So if it's not Bailey Zappi and the New England Patriots, it's not Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're telling me that it's the Buffalo Bills with all of their injuries.
Bills atop the league, Philly atop the NFC for me.
Okay. So it's only week 4. We're about a quarter of the way through the season. We would be a quarter of the way through the season if we hadn't extended the season and made it uneven. For all of you math nerds out there, if that bothers you, it bothers me.
17 is a prime number and it's not fun.
Yeah. Slide in the DMs. Let us know. Fuck prime numbers forever. Anyway, that's a different podcast. At what point in the season do we get concerned about injuries for a team and your ability or inability to overcome them? We talked about the Chargers last week and how they are chronically injured. They're losing 2 guys a week. The Ravens have kind of been in the same boat. I think they managed to stay relatively healthy this week. And J.K. Dobbins even looks pretty good. I think Gus Edwards is coming back. So good for them. They're starting to get a little bit healthy in different areas. But the Bills are not. So I don't know. When, if not now, when do we put up the red flags?
So this is kind of a cop-out answer for me, but I say anytime, if you're still this injured after your bye week, then unless you're going for a postseason bye, then you're kind of screwed because it's just a gauntlet run at that point for the rest of the season.
Fair enough. I don't think that's a cop-out. Carl, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but I also think it depends when your bye week is. I think the Bills have a relatively early bye week this year. So maybe week 7 or so coming up in the next couple of weeks. So, I mean, if they're healthy right after it, there's still a long season to go. I think if you're not healthy and you're really trying to make a playoff push, week 14 is probably if they're not back by week 14 and you really need to push for that extra week and that number 1 seed, because now with the 7-team playoffs, there's only 1 team that gets that bye week. 6 teams make the playoffs and have to play the first week. It's not with the top 2 anymore. So it's going to be really important to get that number 1 seed. So if you're in the hunt and you haven't locked down the number 1 seed and you still have players hurt in weeks 13, 14, 15, even with those last handful of weeks to go, I think you're really going to be stressing out about really trying to force it, either forcing them back early so you can win and get them the rest that they need going into the playoffs, or holding them out and just kind of holding your breath and hope that it works out and you can squeeze your way in somewhere or maybe get a good first round matchup where it doesn't necessarily matter their health.
Just a clerical note here. You are correct that the Bills have a week 7 bye. The chronically injured Chargers are a week 8 bye. And because we mentioned the Ravens as well, that's a week 10 bye for them. So interesting to see. Another factor that maybe we look at moving forward here is the Eagles, who are not chronically injured. They're relatively healthy, but the Eagles have a week 7 bye, which means they get 10 straight weeks of football to close the season. And will that play a factor into whether or not they can lock up that number 1 seed, and how do they perform that first weekend if they don't? All right, so Carl, you like the Buccaneers as possibly the best team in football, which would also make them the best team in the NFC. Tommy, you like the Bills as the best team in football. So let's go down a level. Are the Eagles the best team in the NFC?
I think so. Yeah, I think they've separated themselves from the rest of the teams. They're the most complete team, top to bottom. Jalen Hurts taking that extra step has been super important to them, and you can see it on every Sunday. The ascension that step has taken that team as a whole.
I have to say, I mean, I've told you that I told you every week so far, and I am continually impressed by Jalen Hurts, who I sat here and I said in the preview pod that the most important thing for him and for the Eagles was that he became a good real-life quarterback and not just a good fantasy football quarterback, which shout out to the league that I have him in that let him slip to the 10th round. My father-in-law, love the man, took Tom Brady. I didn't even tell you guys this. He drafted Tom Brady after drafting Mahomes early just so that he could bench Tom Brady. Diehard Bill Belichick Patriots fan, this man. Drafted Tom Brady after drafting Patrick Mahomes, like pretty early when like he probably needed a starting running back or a wide receiver based on his winless last place team. But spitefully took Tom Brady and just benched him so nobody could have him the final year he's in the league. If that is not like next level petty, I don't know what is. And it's I so respect him for it. It is freaking hilarious. But shout out to them because that's the league that I got Jalen Hurts in. And so he's both. He's a good fantasy quarterback and a good real life quarterback. So good for the Eagles, good for me.
I so need to get back in that league.
It is wonderful. I've never seen anybody like so proud of being chaotic.
Self-sabotage.
Yeah, it was like, and now he's in last place, and he keeps telling me, he's like, hey, you know what? If you want Tom Brady, you just got to make it worth my offer. I was like, what is worth your while mean? Like getting one win 1 week, because that's the goal at this point.
Right.
So shout out to my father-in-law. That's a lot of fun. All right, getting us back on track, Tommy. So you think the Eagles are the best team in the NFC? I didn't answer any of these questions. I'm going to tell you what. I don't think I'm ready to tell you that the Eagles are the best team in football. And I don't think I'm ready to tell you that they're the best team in the NFC. I still believe it's probably some combination of the Bills, maybe the Chiefs, or believe it or not, the Buccaneers. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But the Eagles defense is stingy, and I wouldn't want to play them at any point ever in a playoff. So that's all I have to say. Probably not the best yet. It's hard to tell who is. There's a lot of parity right now, and we love that because, or we don't. When we look at my 5-win week picking against the spread here in week 5, week 4, not terrific for that. But who haven't we covered? Carl, who do you think is the best team in the AFC?
Well, I think the Bills are going to be the best team in the AFC. Like we talked about, the injuries are kind of a concern like at this point, but the way that their schedule is set up and how good they are as like a complete team, it's kind of like the Patrick Mahomes Chiefs. So I would say they're kind of top 2 where they can come out and light you up. But if you know how to stop them, it's going to be surprising when they don't put up 20 points. So I'm going Bills and Chiefs as the top 2. And then I think there's a huge drop off. I would also put the Ravens up there if Lamar Jackson is good, which kind of just goes to show you that if you have a good quarterback, anything can happen on a given week. It's tough right now watching the Patriots, it feels like. I know we're back on the Patriots bandwagon, but after having Brady on your team for so long and always thinking that no matter who you played, whether you were a better team or not, that you always had a chance to win. It's like going in with a mediocre quarterback is just like, are we going to blow the game today when we have a chance to win? Whereas like you have Mahomes, you have Allen, you have Lamar Jackson. It's like, if you're not beating yourself, you're most likely going to win the game. Like they could go down the field, 75 yards, 5 plays, a minute and a half, just right down the field. And we saw that with the Rams a little bit last night.
We saw it with Bailey Zappi.
Yeah, true.
No,
but like the
kidding.
Rams,
we did.
Yeah, the Rams last night, they didn't put points on the board in terms of touchdown, but there were flashes where they're just like throwing the ball downfield, moving it. But if you can't finish, then it doesn't really do anything for you. So like finishing strength and the ability to like move quickly, like put points on the board, it's really a points driven league. I mean, more points you have, if you're more than the other team, you're going to win the game. So
expert analysis
and unless you're the Lions, in which case your defense cannot play bad enough, or they can't play slightly good enough to let you win the game.
All right, do it quickly and finish strong, finish fast, finish hard. Hashtag analysis.
Staying off that one.
Okay. Here's a little look because I think there's a lot of teams that we thought would be better than they are. There's a few teams that are worse than we expected or better than we expected. All those things. I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm exhausted. So let's run through here. I'm just going to give you a quick quarter season playoff snapshot. If the season ended today, and I don't actually know if this order is correct. I am just going by the top 7 on NFL.com. So shout out to them. making the playoffs, we would have the Kansas City Chiefs at 3-1, the Buffalo Bills at 3-1, and the Miami Dolphins at 3-1. The Dolphins have a 2 seed here, I believe. They would be a 2 seed because they have the tiebreaker with the Bills. So the Bills would be pushed down, to a 5 seed? So pretty crazy. And then we have a shit ton of teams tied for that next spot. It's all at 2-2. Keep up with me here. The Cleveland Browns, the Denver Broncos, the Baltimore Ravens, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the LA Chargers, the New York Jets, and the Tennessee Titans. So that's a lot. That's more than 7. So to be honest with you, I don't know where the cutoff is, but let's just pretend that this list on NFL.com is in order, and we're going to go down the list here. Chiefs are in, Bills are in, completely expected. Actually, completely expected by me. Tommy, I believe in the preview pod, you were totally out on my Kansas City Chiefs, and you thought they might finish in 3rd or 4th in that division.
I did say that they might finish in 3rd or 4th. I wasn't totally out because I had 3 teams making the playoffs in that division, and they were still one of them.
Fair enough. Okay. The Dolphins were our fringe team, and they're tied for the best record in the AFC. And then right now, the Browns, and I'm going to be completely honest with everybody listening to this podcast, which is like only our friends and all of the moms of America. I have no idea what the tie-breaking procedure is right now. I have to Google it, and I'm not going to do it in the middle of the podcast. But right now, according to this list, the Browns have a tiebreaker with the Ravens. I don't know why, but they do.
Do you want me to pick my 7?
Well, that's where we're going with this, right? So the Browns are in, the Broncos are in, and the Ravens are in, and the Bengals make the cut at the last second. The cutoff is the Jaguars, the Chargers, and then like nobody else that we really care about. So from that list, I guess like you tell me where are we going to finish? Like, I guess if the first 2 out are the Jaguars and the Chargers, but we have teams like the Browns, the Broncos, who are they really good? The Bengals, are they really good? If we have them making the playoffs right now and the Jaguars and the Chargers out, how does that shake out? Tommy, I'll let you lead me off here.
So the Jaguars would make it in because they are leading their division.
It's an excellent point. Which I don't even think Vegas understands. We'll cover that in a minute.
So I would have them as one of them, and then I would have the Ravens and Bengals as another one. It's pretty much the same as my preseason picks, but take out I forget if I had the Broncos or the Raiders and just swap them for the Dolphins. So we have Dolphins, Bills, Ravens, Bengals, Jacksonville winning their division, and then I have the Chargers and the Chiefs, and those are my 7 teams.
Okay. Carl, what's the biggest surprise here? I guess like the Chargers being on the outs, the Browns being, I don't know, it's Browns or Ravens. I mean, pick one. I don't think we're getting 2 from the AFC North. I don't think we're getting 3 from the AFC West. So I don't know. What does that look like for you right now?
I don't know. For me, it's a toss-up. Like, I think the Colts are probably going to turn it around and the Jaguars are going to fall off. We were talking off the air, Tommy and I, about the Jaguars, like, not being, like, as good over the last couple of years. But within the last handful of years, they have gone pretty decently far in the playoffs. Like, honestly, a couple of calls away from going to the Super Bowl against our New England Patriots.
Stephon Gilmore tip away.
Yeah. An inadvertent whistle, maybe. But who's counting? So, like, they have been there semi-recently, but until I see it happen, like, I know the Colts last year were able to turn it on. They got their running game going. And running games are going to take you a little bit longer as you get closer towards the end of the season anyway. Matt Ryan hopefully figures it out. It's his first year with the new team, new receivers. So if he can get on track with Pittman and other players, they don't really have a ton of weapons on offense besides Pittman, it seems like. But I don't know. For me, I think that there's going to be one team out of the AFC East. And right now it's probably going to be the Dolphins. I don't see any of the other teams. I'm sorry, 2 teams. It's going to be the Bills and the Dolphins. And then it's going to be one team out of the North. Nope. One team out of the South, and that's the Colts for me. But then, like you said, the other couple spots are going to be a fight for two teams, I think, out of each the AFC North and the West. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the Ravens and the Bengals be the two teams from the North, and then the Chiefs. And I'm still hoping the Broncos, to be honest, but I think it'll probably be the Chiefs and the Chargers coming out of the West. So those are my teams. Pretty in line with Tommy. I think the only swap for me is going to be Colts instead of Jaguars.
The big question on the Chargers is health, right? And now, like, the Broncos didn't really look amazing. We talked about their DVOA last week and that defense and how stifling it could be. And then, yesterday they lose Javonte Williams on offense, which I think should be a bigger hit. It's a bigger potential hit. They don't really utilize him the way they should. We like hashtag free Javonte Williams. But now Randy Gregory is hurt, and I think he's at least on like in-season IR. I'm terrible podcast host. Don't know if he's coming back this season. We'll get back to you next week, so be sure to tune in. But that's the question. So, like, who gets healthier? Who is able to maintain that? Like, does Justin Herbert manage the pain of his broken ribs better and pull the Chargers into the playoffs? That's really the question. Or does Russell Wilson find the fountain of youth mid-season? Maybe, like, I don't know, Peyton Manning's wife is still in Denver and he can get some HGH delivered to her door and she can give it to him so Russell can come back and look good again. I don't know, like, let Russ cook and maybe that's the special ingredient. I don't know what it is, but like, what's going to get us there?
I'm out on the
Nobody
Broncos.
knows.
Nobody knows. I'm out. This is probably the most important game coming up for the Broncos. Like, this is their season. If you can't let Russ cook when he loses his top running back, then this is probably what you're going to get for the entire season.
I agree. I completely agree. Okay. I said I wasn't going to do this, but while you guys were talking, I looked it up. So let's just clarify the playoff picture here, and then we'll jump into the NFC and do this really quickly. The Miami Dolphins are the number 1 seed. They're 3-1. The Chiefs are the number 2 seed. They're 3-1. The Jaguars, AFC South champions at the moment, they're 2-2. They have the 3 seed. The Cleveland Browns are 2-2. They're the NFC or AFC North quarterway champions right now. They're the 4 seed. And then the Buffalo Bills at 3-1 are in 5th. The Bengals, 2-2, are in 6th, and the Titans, 2-2, are in 7th. So missing the playoffs in order, we have the Ravens in 8th, the Jets in 9th, the Chargers in 10th, and the Broncos in 11th. All of those teams are 2-2, so that is subject to change. The Colts are right after them. They are 1-2-1, had that week 1 tie. They're in 12th place. Moving over to the NFC.
Well, I just want to say this real quick about the Dolphins. I'm going to call my shot right here. I'm looking ahead at their schedule, and they're going to run into a wall, I think, in week 13. They go at San Francisco, which if San Francisco is rolling, then that's a tough matchup. At the Chargers, which, again, if they have everyone healthy, is going to be tough. At Buffalo. So not only are you at Buffalo in week 15, but you're also coming off 2 games on the West Coast. Then you host Green Bay, which, again, if Green Bay is rolling by that point, hopefully, like, again, they have it all figured out. And then I highlighted this one because I'm biased, but at New England, again, you have Miami coming up to New England late in the season if it's snowing, if it's crazy. So, again, there's like 5 games there right at like prime time of the season for them. They could be rolling. They could have a top seed, and then it could all just collapse. Like, the floor could just come out right underneath them. Not saying that it will happen, not saying they lose all those games, but like up to that point, they could be like top 1 or 2 in the AFC and then hit that wall and then just fall off the cliff right there. So I'm going to call my shot early on in the season so we can always look back at this podcast, whether I'm right or not. But for now, yes, number 1 seed for the near future, if they can keep taking care of business with Tua or Teddy or whoever's behind center. But if they hit that wall late in the season on that West Coast trip, coming back to Buffalo, and then again, Green Bay, New England, it'll be tough 5 games.
So you mentioned Teddy Bridgewater, and that's actually what I want to ask you is that late season wall even going to matter? Will it be too late? Can they survive with – we've talked a ton about how we feel about that defense, the weapons on offense, and Tua taking a leap. Obviously, Tua we haven't even covered the concussion stuff, but he's going to be out for an indefinite amount of time. Frankly, like, I'll be honest with you, like, I never want to see the man play football again, because we don't need to get into it on this podcast. It was awful. It was terrible. And I'll just leave it at that. I don't even want to see him play football. It's not as a Patriots fan. It's not as a Dolphins disliker. I wouldn't say I hate the Dolphins, but I just, for his own future health, safety, be gone, please. But regardless, he may play again this season. We don't know when he'll come back. Can the Dolphins survive to get to that gauntlet with a playoff spot, a favorable playoff spot, or just a playoff spot at all, with Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback?
Yeah, I think so. He looked competent enough to keep that team afloat, and what was when he was thrown into duty. Now he's going to have time week in, week out to prepare for the matchups. As much as I agree with you that what happened on Thursday was scary, I don't think that I think Tua is going to be out this week, next week, and then probably will be back, because he's already said that he wanted to get back and be there for his teammates and everything, and all the stuff that athletes say. So I don't think it's going to be that long of an absence, even though it should be. But I think, like I said, I think Teddy Bridgewater will be competent enough to keep them afloat while he's out, however long it may be.
Okay, man.
Preach. Cosign. I agree. I think Teddy Bridgewater is a pretty good comparable backup, especially with what Tua does. He doesn't throw the ball well downfield. He gets it to guys in space. His quick guys like Waddle and Tyreek Hill. I'm not saying I could do it, but again, as long as Teddy Bridgewater doesn't force balls and make stupid mistakes, just put the balls in the hands of your playmakers and let them do the work. I mean, that's what we saw against the Ravens. Not that Tua didn't do anything, but if Bridgewater can just get the balls to the guys in space, they'll make stuff happen. So just don't throw it away.
All right, jumping over to the NFC. The Eagles are the 1 seed, of course, undefeated. The Minnesota Vikings, 2 seed at 3-1. Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 3rd at 2-2. San Francisco 49ers in 4th, also at 2-2. In 5th, Dallas Cowboys, also 3-1. 6th place, the Green Bay Packers, also 3-1. They would have that 2 seed. They would have the 1 seed. They would be somewhere tied with the Eagles if they hadn't lost to the Vikings, but the Vikings won in week 1. They hold that tiebreaker. So the Packers currently in 6th place. And the New York Football Giants, 3-1, because they've just played the absolute worst schedule in football. They hold the final playoff spot right now. Just outside on the bubble, I think the only 2 teams that we actually care about, unless you want me to go on another Panthers rant, is the Rams at 2-2, and then the frisky little Falcons, who, I don't know, if the Giants are holding on to a 7 seed right now, maybe the Falcons hang around. We'll see how the rest of the season goes. So my question for you guys, what's the biggest change we're going to see? Who's going to fall off? Like, who shouldn't be there right now and who should? Because especially after watching Monday Night Football, are the Rams a playoff team? The NFC's weak, but like, is that what a playoff team looks like?
I don't think so. I think we're seeing a step back. They need to get more players involved, even as much as Cooper Kupp does. They need to get more players involved, because right now it's literally just Cooper Kupp, and then every 5th throw is Tyler Higbee. They barely get the runners involved right now. And I know McVay likes to just choose one, but at this point he's got to throw the kitchen sink at the offense and try to figure it out. The one change I would make is I think the 49ers are probably going to separate themselves from that division. It's all 2-2, all 4 teams right now. I think that even though the Giants are right now on the outside of the playoff bubble, I think they'll take a little bit of a step back, even though I like their defense. Everything else, though, it seems like it's in line with what I expected, to be honest.
Carl, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. They have a lot of division games towards the end of the season. Like looking at their schedule on here, they have week 12, Dallas, then Washington, Philadelphia, Washington again. Then they have Minnesota, Indy, and then they finish at Philly. So they have a very backloaded division schedule. Most teams will, because they put in the first couple weeks or the last, but they lost to Dallas with Cooper Rush a quarterback. And then again, it's gonna depend on what happens at the end of the year. I mean, that's why they do that backloaded division schedule to see like have matchups that mean stuff at the end. But it's gonna come down to Saquon staying healthy, Daniel Jones staying healthy, which I mean, Saquon could play quarterback, I guess, if we need him to. And by we, I mean them. But I don't know. It feels like they don't have too many weapons outside of Saquon Barkley. So if he goes, I think the team goes.
Fun fact, the Giants threw for 71 yards passing this week.
Yikes.
And they won the game. So I don't know. Does that tell you that the Giants are better than we think and they're winning in spite of the quarterback position, most important in football?
I mean, they played the Bears this week. So
right. Who also stink.
No offense to my coworker Jake, who's obsessed with the Bears.
Offense to Jake, they suck. Okay, if it's not the Giants and it's not the Rams, who grabs the last playoff spot in the NFC? The Falcons, Seahawks, Bears, and Cardinals are 2-2. The Panthers, Saints, and Lions are 1-3. Lions have got to be like the best 1-3 team maybe that we've ever seen. If they could play a lick of defense, they could be like the number one seed in football, but they're not. So I don't know. Of that group of 7 teams, Falcons, Seahawks, Bears, take the Bears out. Falcons, Seahawks, Cardinals, Panthers, Saints, Lions.
I think for me, it's the Cardinals. I'm curious to see what happens when DeAndre Hopkins comes back. And I think with all eyes being on Kyler Murray with the Call of Duty situation, maybe he won't screw it up. When does he come back? Week 6? After week 6?
After week 6, and I believe their bye. I'll double check when their bye is.
I can pull it up right here. Their bye is not until week 13.
Week 13. So week 7, we in theory have DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how it goes. I think that he'll make a huge difference. Would love to see JJ Watt fully healthy and making an impact on defense.
I mean, can we talk about JJ Watt for a second? Had his heart shocked back into rhythm on Thursday and played the game on Sunday. I mean, Jesus Christ. Talk about bad health decisions. It's him and it's Tua. I mean, like cool story, like great, but like Jesus. Like,
yeah,
I'm going to be honest with you. It was a tough football week for me. Like, as a human, I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting older and I think about these things, but it was a tough hang for me this weekend. Me and football needed a little bit of space after seeing Tua's basically have a seizure on the field Thursday Night Live, seeing JJ Watt go out and have a fucking heart attack and play anyway. It was tough, but
the NFL has needed this overhaul of what the baseline is for letting a player back onto the field or onto the field to start a game. They need to raise that substantially. They've needed that for a while, but I don't know if they'll ever do it.
It's a really great point. I tweeted last week was like on Friday morning in the wake of that Thursday Night Football where we saw that replay over and over and over again of Tua and his body freezing up because of that hit, literally watching a traumatic brain injury in real time and then in slow motion again and again and again on national television. It's the only game that anybody's watching on a Thursday night. You never want to see that happen, but maybe the good that comes out of it is like we don't have to see it happen again because or not because of negligence, right? Like it's football, it's violent, it will happen again, but hopefully not because of like the negligence of a Tua situation. So all right, that's enough of that. One thing that we want to cover really quickly, are we all out on the Broncos right now? Vegas has them favored to miss the playoffs. It is a plus 110 bet. If you believe that, yes, they will make the playoffs, you're getting plus odds on that. So if you believe in the Broncos, go out and bet them before that changes. I'm out. I was out before the season. I told you guys that. Tommy, I think you are now out. Carl, you're hoping for them to be in, but you guys tell me.
Yeah, I'm out as well. Like I said, if this is like their make or break week coming up without Javonte Williams, but even if somehow the passing game starts to turn around, then teams will just start to key in on that, and they won't have a run game to fall back on because Melvin Gordon's good, but his most recent stats are not great. He's fumbled the ball 5 times in his last 44 rushes. That's not a good percentage.
It's awful. Carl?
Yeah, I mean, I'm holding out hope, but I mean, I have no financial ties to it or emotional ties. So just because I picked them early on, I would love to see it pan out. But I did have high expectations for Russell Wilson over there. Thought that like that was the piece they needed, and it's just not working out. So I don't know. We'll see. Russ turns it on halfway through the season with Seattle, so we'll see if he turns it on halfway through the season with Denver. And I mean, he doesn't have the same weapons like he did, like DK Metcalf and whatnot, but we'll see. Maybe he just needs to get used to them, and they need to get used to him. And again, let Russ cook. The coach over there, take a step back, let Russell do his thing. Outside of making Subway commercials and
I was
whatever.
just gonna say, just don't let him make a Subway sandwich because that commercial was the creepiest thing ever.
Paging Ashley Manning, get that man some ingredients to cook with. Okay, one quick little quirky thing here. Nobody's favored to win the AFC South. Technically, because someone has better odds than everyone else, they are. But individually, we're just going to go down the line here. Texans to make the playoffs, 20-1. It won't happen. Titans to make the playoffs, plus 165. Not favored to happen. Indianapolis Colts to make the playoffs, plus 120. Not favored to happen. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars, basically a push, almost a push at this point, plus 110 to make the playoffs. Somebody's got to win that division. Like, it has to happen. They don't have to be 500. They can go 8-9. Is that 17? I can't even do math. 8-9 and get in. So I don't know. I think that's what we're going to see. Probably.
If I was betting, I would take the plus odds on Indianapolis at this point over even odds with Jacksonville. I just think there's more upside with what you're getting for personally, but you do you. What do you think?
Well, let me ask you this. Does it change your mind that Jonathan Taylor is hurt? No. The extent of which we are unsure. Matt Ryan looks like bad Matt Ryan, old Matt Ryan, doesn't have an offensive line Matt Ryan. And that the coach and GM are both on the hot seat according to recent reports.
No. Nope. I like plus odds.
Well, everybody has plus odds.
Yeah, but I feel like for me, the Colts have a stronger overall team than the Jaguars. Haven't seen it yet.
They're also dealing with more injuries with Jonathan Taylor potentially out.
Yeah, true, but like, I don't know.
It comes down to each one. I think this is a changing of the guard year, so I'm going to take the young hotshot quarterback. Give me Trevor Lawrence. I would put my money on the Jags. Their defense is actually playing up pretty well too.
I think it's worth maybe putting a little. If I were a betting man, what he says on his betting podcast with his friends on the betting podcast, I'm going to pull for the Jaguars. I like it. I don't feel good about the Colts at all. I've told you a lot this season that I think the Titans stink, but if anybody's going to I think the Titans might have the best coach. And he comes right down from that Belichick tree. And he didn't coach under Bill Belichick, but Mike Vrabel was part of a championship defense with Bill Belichick. So if I'm going to put my money anywhere, it's probably on him. And they have the third highest payout if you made the bet today. So I don't know, just something to think about. I was going to ask you guys about the MVP, but it's kind of a 4-man race, right? So Josh, it's really a 3-man race. We've talked about these same guys every week. It's Josh Allen. He's the favorite at plus 275. Lamar Jackson is 5-1, and Jalen Hurts is plus 550. Pat Mahomes right there tied with Lamar Jackson at 5-1. I think all three of us would probably agree that Jalen Hurts is either in that 2 or that 3 spot for us, but across the board, is it Josh Allen today?
Yeah, it is. And if our season preview pod ever comes to light, this will be our greatest call because these are the 4 guys that we talked about when the odds were all over the place. Mm-hmm. And now early on in the season, they've cleared it's them. And then there's a whole other level of guys. that you don't have to worry about.
If it's not them, is there anyone else that can do it?
I mean, barring injuries, obviously, but I don't think there's anybody that can do it this year. But going back to what we were just talking about, if you're looking at MVP for next year, if you want to make off-season bets, I would throw some money on Trevor Lawrence because he's taking a step this year that we're seeing, and he will probably take another one next year.
Trevor Lawrence plus 5,000 right now. Is it worth even putting like a coffee on him?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Personally.
Yeah, me either. If you believe in a potential, I don't know, like Brady looks pretty good, even though the Buccaneers didn't on Sunday night. He's plus 4,000. Aaron Rodgers, back-to-back MVPs, one of them kind of fraudulent, plus 3,500. Just saying. But right now, Josh Allen, you can still get a nice return on your money. Okay. Moving right along, we are going to go right into our picks here. And this might be the fastest podcast that we ever do this week. The fastest podcast we do this week. That's what I think. So let's recap our week 4 records. We told you off the top, I had a terrible week. I went 5-9-2, which means I am now not just pulling up the rear. They're going to rename the caboose, like the Pat. It's me, the papoose. I don't know. Is that a rapper? I don't know. Our friend Kaylee,
I think
our friend Kaylee would know.
It's an animal.
Okay. Animal, rapper. It's one of those things. Yeah. Regardless, it's in last place with me because I am 27, 34, and 3 on the season. We all agreed on several games last week, and we pushed on 2 of them. So we all have 3 pushes, 3 ties so far. Carl, you had a wonderful week. Well, not wonderful, but you had the best week of any of us. You went 8-6-2.
I was a half point away on 2 of my things from having a 10-point week.
You were. But nevertheless, the quest continues.
You were another half point from having a 500 week.
Yeah, suck it, he says from last place. So you are now 32, 29, and 3. And Tommy, right there, middle of the pack, which you're second in the podium and you're second away from last place. So congrats on being middle of the pack on a 3-man podcast. But you're not. You went 7-2, which okay. So now you are 29, 32, and 3 on the season, and I just want to commend you because 500 records were hard to come by for you last year,
sure were.
And 3 out of 4 weeks, including the pushes here, you have gone 500. You were 8-8 in week 1, 8-8 in week 2, a very nice 6-9-1 in week 3, and 7-7-2 in week 4. So good job by you. 3/4 of the time, you're
60% of the time, it works every time.
Every time.
No, just call me the Trevor Lawrence of this podcast. Last year, I came in with a lot of fanfare and flopped a little. This year, I've taken a step forward, and next year, maybe I'll be over 500.
Sometimes I hate the analogies that you have, and that was a pretty good one. So good job by you. All right. Moving over into Dollar Bill Island. I didn't get any because I didn't win. I suck.
If you remember last week on the podcast, Pat just piggybacked on mine and Tommy's picks anytime,
Whoa. We had, if we recall, literally half the games we were in total agreement, so much so that our parlay was the hashtag fade the 3-man rush fraudcast is what Carl called it on his Instagram story. Hopefully we gave you a parlay to fade us, and then the parlay also did not hit. So no matter what, it just fade us. And
I did bet it.
Fade the fade. Did you bet it?
Yeah. I'll tell you right now if you want to fill some time.
So that was an 8-team plus 18,762 something odds. You would want a shitload of money, right? Something like that.
On our picks of it, there were 8 picks in there. Mm-hmm. We were correct on 3. We were wrong on 4, and we pushed one of them.
And so that's pretty awful for a parlay where you need to get all of them correct.
Correct. But for us getting some of them right when we all agreed, I feel like that's a moral victory.
Yeah, if we all agree on every game, eventually we're gonna get some right. We're not gonna go 0-16, I hope. Although based on how I've been performing, that is in question. So $1 Bill Island on the season. Carl has 9 of them. I somehow am still ahead of Tommy. I have 5. That's just because I have stupid luck because everything else I'm doing is stupid.
You guys each had like 3 in week 1, which set you on a course ahead of me.
Yeah, something like that. And Tommy, you have 4, so I'm sure you will take a commanding lead ahead of me in no time. And I'm just going to get voted off the island in favor of, I don't know, Papoose. He can come in, he can rap, he can be an animal, he can be a caboose, he can be the host of the 3-Man Rush podcast because I am getting voted the fuck off this island. And now that we're moving off the island, we're going to go right into Thursday night football, which is the Indianapolis Colts headed to Denver to play on Thursday night football. The Broncos are favored by 3.5 points. Tommy, I'm going to start with you. What do we like in this game?
Oh boy. So actually, you know what? I don't like the Broncos because, like I said, they're already down their top running back. I don't like Russell Wilson. I mean, the Colts are kind of just like a yin and yang team, so this is a little bit tougher with the line, but I'm going to take the Colts here. Give me the plus 3.5. And yeah, I would stay off it in real life, but for the purposes of this, I'll take the Colts, I guess.
Just want to clarify that the Colts are not getting 3-4. I'm sorry. You said the Colts, not the Broncos. Okay. Yeah. So you're getting 3.5 points and you're going with the Colts. Good. Okay. Great. I can't hear anything. I'm a great podcast host. So, Carl, why don't you speak and tell me who's going to win this game or who's going to cover?
Yeah, for sure. Both. My answer is going to be the same, and I'm sticking with my Denver Broncos. Even though I said the Colts were going to be at the top of their division, I think there's something about the Broncos. They're just going to pull it out at home. 3.5 point favorites. Hopefully they can cover and win by like a touchdown, 6 points. And I don't get screwed, but I do think whoever you think is going to win this game outright is the team that you want to bet. So if you think the Colts are going to win, take the Colts. If you think the Broncos are going to win, I don't think the points are going to matter at this point. Obviously, if the Colts win, the points don't matter at all. But I don't think there's a situation for me where the Broncos win by 3 points. I think they're going to win by a touchdown or more, or they're going to lose the game outright. So that's how I feel. Bet whoever you think is going to win this game outright. And I don't think you'll be in a bad situation. So for my pick, I'm going with the Broncos.
And so just to clarify for those listening at home, if you believe that the Colts are going to win outright, you would just take the money line because you're going to get better. Like if you take the points, it's going to be minus 110. You take the money line, you're going to get better plus odds. Correct?
Correct.
Great. Okay. All right. You're not going to believe this, Carl. I'm actually also going to go with the Denver Broncos, specifically because I just think that this comes down to the defenses. I don't think either offense is particularly good. I am worried about Jonathan Taylor on a short week. I'm worried about them traveling. I'm worried about them going to Denver. I should be worried. Russell Wilson might be dealing with some kind of shoulder thing. But you know what? I'm going to put my faith in Ashley Manning. And what can I say? Peyton Manning's never let me down before. He's never flopped. The Manning family has never sucked in a big situation. So give me the Broncos and let's ride.
Broncos on the under for me.
Okay.
Give me the island.
Island for Tommy. All right. Moving on. I'm going to call it games of the week. I don't know if we have like a great game on the schedule. There's a lot of like, we had to put these in here somewhere and we stuffed them all in 1 week. So hopefully the rest of the schedule is better for you guys. But the Eagles 4-0, maybe not. If you listen to the top of the podcast, best team in football, we'll find out, but they got to start by handling their business when they travel to Arizona to take on the Cardinals this week. The Eagles will be 5.5 point favorites in that one. And I'm just going to lead us off here just so that I can't be accused of piggybacking the picks here, which I just did and picked Carl's Broncos. And of course, I'm going to go first when it's the undefeated team and just make the easy pick. But I'm going with the Eagles. The Cardinals are probably scrappy on offense. I think you can make things happen with Kyler. I think they try to have a game plan. They try to go with the playbook for 3 quarters. And then by the end of the third quarter. I think Cliff Kingsbury remembers that Kyler Murray hasn't even read the playbook. So just let him run around like a kid on a playground and you'll score some points. And that's basically what the Cardinals have done to this point. The defense isn't very good. I just think like by the time the Cardinals figure out what's going on, they might be down by 25 points. And because that Eagles defense is that good, I think the Eagles defense could put points on the board in this one. So it's pretty easy for me. I'm going to 5.5 just felt too low. So give me the Philadelphia Eagles to cover on this one.
Yeah, I guess I'll be the piggybacker this time because I'm in the same boat as you. When you give all that money to Kyler Murray, and the best story you can come up to describe that offense is scrappy, not looking great. And I completely agree with you. The Eagles, like I said, I think they're the best team in the NFC. So 5.5 points on the road against that kind of team, I'll take that every time.
For me, I'm going to go with the Cardinals, not just to be different, although it does usually help. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think I agree with what you've said so far, but I think that's also what I think is going to change this week. I think that they've played very poorly for the first 3 quarters and scored most of their points late in the game. Could be different against a tough defense like the Eagles have, but for me at home, the Cardinals, I'll take the points and maybe I'll sprinkle a little on the money line depending on how well I do on Thursday night. If I get some free money for myself on Thursday, maybe I'll throw some money on a money line. Fun coupons for real. So give me the Cardinals in this, and I'll take my shot at a DDBI this week. So.
I can totally just cop off of Dane Cook and just use some coops at the DK Lounge.
Yeah, that's right.
At the DDBI Lounge. Love that. Okay, great. Moving on Sunday Night Football, we have a AFC North divisional matchup. Really battle of the, well, I guess everybody's a playoff team, but the Steelers right now, or in contention. They're all 2-2. So it's the Bengals this time. Mm-hmm. Headed to Baltimore to take on the Ravens, who are 3-point favorites on Sunday Night Football. Carl, you haven't let us off yet, so what's your take here?
Sunday Night Football?
Sunday Night Football.
In Baltimore.
Primetime Carl.
Tough. Yeah. This might not be the week. It's going to be a tough matchup for sure. And I really want to take the Ravens at home, laying 3, but I think for me, I'm going to go with the Bengals. In still a close game. So that 3 might make the difference. The Ravens also just lost a close game themselves to Buffalo. I think they left a lot out on the field, but I think they also showed kind of their hand against a really good team. So division matchup, hopefully it's going to be close. It will be tough to go into Baltimore and win, especially on a primetime game. I'm sure Ray Lewis is going to be there coming out doing his dance. So it's going to be mentally tough for the Bengals, but I'm going to take the Bengals this week.
Tommy, what do you think?
Yeah, this one's tough because, especially as you just said last week, they lost a close game, and you can narrow that down to John Harbaugh going for it on 4th and goal when it was a tie game with about 7 minutes left instead of just taking the field goal. And
can I interrupt you in that second? Can I interrupt you?
Sure.
I don't have a problem with them going for it on that play. I'm a little biased because I picked the Ravens. I think we all did, and we hate the Bills. I don't have a problem with them going for it, but A, the play call was trash, and B, if you're Lamar Jackson, you cannot throw an interception there. You're going for it from inside the 5-yard line, thinking either you score or you give them the ball on the 3. You cannot throw an interception for a touchback and give them the ball on the 20-yard line, knowing that they just have to go down the field and kick a field goal. Like, either you throw the ball away and give them the ball on the 3, or you, again, like, make sure it's a safe play. Like, there's no reason to do that. But sorry for interrupting. That was my little rant. It was pissing me off all day, and Kayla's family had to hear all about it because it was very clear that I took the Ravens.
No, you're fine. You're fine. That's a good differing vantage point. Even though, like obviously hindsight's 2020, but I'm always team take the points in those scenarios because I don't know. It's just maybe it's just growing up with Belichick. I've just learned to trust defenses in hoping to limit teams if I'm going up 3 to at the very least holding them to a field goal. But this is also the exact type of game that I think that they're going to get right here. I feel bad for the Bengals because they've just had a rough start to their season, but I'm going to take the Ravens here at -3.
I am also going to go with the Ravens here. I don't know. Last year, so it's another potential dollar bill island for Carl, which makes me not feel great because right now, I don't feel great about that.
I'm saddled to this loser right now. How do you think I feel?
You have not agreed with Carl on a pick yet, so somebody's going to have we'll see how it plays out. Somebody's not going to be happy next week, and I have a feeling I don't know. I think Carl's going to be happy. That's all I have to say about that.
I agree.
The Ravens were the launch pad for the Bengals last year. If we recall, the Bengals sort of blew them out when everybody thought, Lamar was going to do his thing. He was coming on, and then they just exposed that defense and really they then took off on their path to coming out of the AFC and going to the Super Bowl. I don't know if that's the case this week, although I don't know. Did we see a turning point already last Thursday against the Dolphins? Coming, with extra rest now, and they get to do a Sunday night game, even though it's on the road. I don't know, but listen. The Ravens continually let me down, but this week, and so far this season, it's been pretty good. This week, I'm going to roll with them again. So give me the Ravens -3 at home on Sunday Night Football. All right, moving on into Monday Night Football. It's the Las Vegas Raiders against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are favored by 7 here on Monday Night Football. And I'm just going to lead us off here and give you a couple of stats. First of all, stat number 1, the Raiders stink. I don't need a number. They're bad. The end. Number 2, the real stat there is that they're 1-3. And I mean, I don't know. That's not really good. So that's hashtag analysis. Number 2, here's the real number. In their last 10 meetings, the Chiefs are 8-2 against the Oakland/Las Vegas Raiders. In the Patrick Mahomes era, that is, I think he's only lost once. And then let's just take a quick look here at the scores here, the points that Kansas City has put up. 48-9, Kansas City won. 41-14, Kansas City won. 35-31, but Kansas City won. Vegas put up 40 in 2020, but that was a COVID year. That was kind of weird. 40-32, and they beat the Chiefs. But then a 40-9 game, a 28-10. These are all Kansas City wins, by the way. 35-3, 40-33. Like, the Chiefs just put up points against the Raiders. Josh McDaniels is the coach, and he stinks. And I picked Pat Mahomes to win the MVP and the Chiefs to really probably potentially win the Super Bowl in the aforementioned but not yet released preseason preview pod. So give me the Chiefs -7. I will take that cover. I might regret it. It's a big number. I did last time I picked the Chiefs this way, but give me the Chiefs. Everybody else can piggyback or not. I don't really care.
I'm going to take the Chiefs also.
Son of a bitch.
At that spread. I gave the stat a couple weeks ago, I think, and it was in a lot of these primetime games, the favorite has been winning outright, and only twice this season, I believe, the underdog has covered. One was the other night with Kansas City beating Tampa Bay, and the other one was actually the Chargers covering against Kansas City. They didn't win the game outright, but they covered. Every other game, the favorite has won and covered, so I'm going to stick with that trend, and for all the same points that you gave, I just don't see them stopping it. Tommy Sullivan?
Yeah, you can't see me right now, but I was just sweeping a broom because I'm also choosing the Chiefs. Expecting either of us, although I did it last week, the Raiders got their moral victory. The Josh McDaniels gets to ride high until he gets fired at the end of the season now. So even with the big spread, I think this is a team of the haves versus the team of the have-nots, and it's going to be a blowout.
I was really hoping you guys would get scared off by laying 7 points, Carl in particular, and
not against Josh.
I do want to say that the bye weeks start next week, and it starts in Vegas. if they get blown out this week, if it's a really bad showing, are we looking at that bye week firing of Josh McDaniels like I predicted?
Oh, it would just give me so many positive vibes if that happens. I would love it.
We just got like ASMR Tommy. That's wow. That's amazing. That's a really good point, Carl. It's a really good point. And something to keep an eye on because I think you might be right. Especially if they get blown the fuck out, it's a lot of money to eat and really soon to own that mistake. But we shall see. It's a great point. All right, moving on. Okay, this line was so weird to me. The Dallas Cowboys are heading to Los Angeles to take on the Rams, where the Rams are favored by 4.5 points. When you guys know, I like to guess the lines. I like to kind of go with my gut, see what the value says, and then figure out what Vegas says. And in my notes, I sent you guys these notes. I said the Cowboys would be favored by 1. That was my guess, but I also figured Vegas wasn't really ready to have that conversation about the Rams not actually being good yet. And I didn't write this part in the notes, but what I meant by that was that I think the Rams would be favored, but maybe by like 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. I didn't even think they were going to get a full like home field advantage 3 points. And when this opened, I believe it was the Rams by 6.5 approximately. So clearly people, the Cowboys are a public team. They're getting hammered right now. So this line is down to 4.5. So the Rams are just laying 4.5 points when the Cowboys visit this weekend. But Carl, when I brought this up earlier offline, you were pretty high on the Rams. So I don't know.
Did I say that? Did I say I was high on the Rams?
No, you said the spreadsheet was high on the Rams and you're a slave to the spreadsheet. So
maybe what I was saying was you should take the Rams by 1 million because I am on the Cowboys.
Okay, well, tell me more.
No, I do think that the line has dropped to the right spot. When we talked about it and it was 6.5, and I was trying to get you to bite on the 6.5, I have it as like a 4-point something spread. So dropping it down to 4.5 when we like re-updated the lines right before the podcast, I was like, fuck, because it's like really close to the line that I have. So I was hoping that the 6.5 would get you to take the Rams and be like, oh, like spread's wicked high, we should take the Rams. But I think the Cowboys are not getting enough love. And I said it last week, like Cooper Rush is a good enough backup. He's not making any mistakes. Tommy's not happy with that. But I think, like, is he a better quarterback than Dak Prescott? No, but they just play into his strengths in the offense. So I don't know. I'm going to go with the Cowboys, at least to cover, and we'll see what happens. I will say also the game being in LA provides no home field advantage for LA and almost more home field advantage for the Cowboys. So I didn't factor in home field advantage for the Cowboys, but my home field advantage in my spreadsheet for the Rams is just steadily going down because fans in LA just don't show up for games. So it's always the away team.
I wholeheartedly agree with literally everything you just said. I would love it more if I could be getting 6.5 points for Cooper Rush, but I'll take the 4.5 and go with the Cowboys. And now, Tommy, I want to know what you have to. I want to know who you're going to pick, but everybody listening or even watching didn't see the face that we saw when Carl said that Cooper Rush is a good enough backup quarterback, and I also took an issue with that. But I think for a different reason than you did. So I'm going to let you go. Tell me what you think about Cooper Rush and this game.
I actually completely agree with Carl about Cooper Rush and his assessment. However, I don't know if he's going to be playing this game because I think Dak is going to try to come back. He's going to rush himself back. He's going to have that surgically repaired thumb that is not going to go. I don't think it's going to go over well. And I'm going to take the Rams here for that reason. Like, I think Dak is going to play and I think it's going to hinder the Cowboys. And It's going to open themselves up to that controversy.
Does it change your mind that I believe probably shortly before we came on here, I think Jerry Jones said something to the effect of Dak doesn't have the grip strength yet, so they're not expecting him to play.
Dang it. Yep, I can see that now. Well, pick late is a pick plate. I'm going to stick with the Rams. Go to the island.
All right. Good job by you. My only issue is not that Cooper Rush is a pretty good backup quarterback. I think he's just a pretty good quarterback. I'm not going to lie to you. If you could get like, I don't know, a first-round pick, a couple second-round picks, a couple third-round picks, not all of those things in one, but like, I don't know, some combination of those for Dak Prescott, and Cooper Rush can just keep managing a game really well, and you can take that $100 bazillion that you owe Dak Prescott every year and put it into the rest of the team, like a left tackle that's healthy this year. I would consider it. I like Cooper Rush. I also, I wasn't going to do this, and so we won't do this, but I made a little list of when Brian Hoyer got hurt, I made a list of guys that I would like to see the Patriots trade for on like a 1-year rental, because I'm starting to be a little bit higher on that defense and just wish we had a quarterback that could get us where we need to go. And then Bailey Zappi proved to be that guy, so I scrapped the list. But Cooper Rush was on the short list. He was in my top 3. So it was him, it was Matt Ryan, and it was Andy Dalton. Just said, hey, like, just come manage a game and let the defense and the run game do it for us. We're not even talking about the Patriots, so I apologize. But Tommy is on the island with the Rams. Carl and I like the Cowboys, and I'm going to get a Cooper Rush jersey. So good job by me.
You could get a Cooper Rush or Andy Dalton jersey. They look exactly the same. Not the jerseys, the players.
And they both took over when Dak Prescott had a catastrophic injury, which seems to be a recurring issue at this point. So I don't know. Hashtag fade Dak Prescott. But don't listen to me. I'm the caboose. Caboose, papoose, all those things. All right. The Atlanta Falcons, who may or may not make the playoffs, are taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs are favored by 7, and they're at home for this one. Tommy, why don't you lead us off?
I think you mean the only team undefeated against the spread, Atlanta Falcons, this year.
Thank you. That's the kind of correction you make when you are in the middle of the pack. So good job by you.
And I don't know if we want to do this right now, but that line has moved. It's now Bucks -9.
Yeah, I have 8.5 also.
Wow. Okay.
So we changed that just a little behind the scenes here. We changed that about an hour ago at the most, because when we were looking at the lines, so it's gone 2 full points in an hour and change maybe. That's a wild move.
All right. So what are we going with? Are we going with 8.5? Are we going with 9? What do our friends at you guys decide?
I think just for consistency, we always go by DraftKings, and DraftKings has 9, so I think we should go by 9.
All right. So then in Tampa Bay this weekend, the undefeated against the spread Atlanta Falcons head to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are favored by 9 fucking points. So Tommy, I'll put you on the spot here. Does America love the Buccaneers because Tom Brady is fueled by the recent reports of his impending divorce from Giselle?
I have to guess that's what caused this shift right here, is that everyone's just people's just gonna be like, oh, Brady's motivated now, yada yada yada.
Has to be, right?
Yep. So I'm gonna go against the public here. I'm just gonna take the 9 points for the Falcons. If this is just a lot of people betting with their emotions, so I'm gonna go the opposite route here. I liked the 9 number, but at how quickly I like the 7 number. Sorry, and how quickly it went to 9. I'll take the Falcons.
Interesting. Okay, Carl.
You can go first.
I think I may also get swept up. Listen, I really don't know how Tom Brady's going to react to Giselle. Could that completely fuck him up and
I think
derail him?
No, because it's not like this news is blindsiding him. They both retained lawyers.
Yes, but it's a little bit different when you're in the process of I don't know. I guess
it's
right.
just new to us.
Right. Papers haven't been filed yet, so it's a good point. So that's the thing. I don't know how he'll react to it. I don't know how long this has been going on behind the scenes. It's just new to us, so it's a really good point. What I will say is Tom Brady had his full arsenal of receivers that we expected him to have coming into the season on Sunday night, and the man threw for almost 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. He was remarkable, but the numbers were a little bit different. It was ultimately, I mean, I think Brady was one of the guys that lost the fumble, but the pressure on that offensive line wasn't great. The Bucs had some turnovers, like their opening kickoff of the game. They fumble it and they give the ball up in the red zone. It happened a couple times, even for an elite defense like what the Buccaneers have. I think that's a tough way to start a game. They're coming off a week in which a hurricane is hitting. Like they had to move their families and their lives and their practice, their work environment across the state to get out of a hurricane. They come back, they host that game, but there's destruction everywhere. I mean, just a lot of external factors, right? The Buccaneers didn't look good on Sunday night, but Tom Brady did. And I think a week removed from that, seeing the health come back to the Buccaneers, I think Tom Brady is going to remain undefeated against the Falcons. And I think that Falcons undefeated against the spread streak this season ends in week 5. So this is fucking insane. I'd feel better. I didn't even really love it at 7, but I'm just going to stick with Tom Brady here and say Bucs -9. Give me the Bucs.
Love it. Me too. I just wanted you to say it first because I don't want you to jump on top of me. But yeah, I think this is going to be a blowout. I also think I could be wrong here, but we started with the line at -7, like early in the day. True? Is that what we had it on? And then
7,
it's moved
6
to like
and a half,
9,
something like that.
So I understand the thought that like the public is betting with like, oh, we should jump on it to try and like the line where it's at, where it's good. And betting on Brady. But I also think that this early in the week, because we record on Tuesdays, I almost wonder if it's more of the like big money bettors and less of the public money coming in right now. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I almost wonder if it's like so early on that more of the sharp money is coming in on Brady, either for that reason or for any other reason. So I'm going to take the 9 because that's what we have it as. And I mean, getting greedy, I think that this is going to be like a blowout, like 17-point game. So
now that we just spent 5 minutes analyzing what the public did, I have a confession to make because I checked my notes, and when I guessed the lines, I guessed that the Bucs would be favored by 7, and the Bucs actually opened as 8.5-point favorites. And I put the wrong number in the spreadsheet, so it's only moved half a point.
Oh my gosh! Well,
so I feel even better about taking 9.
We
my
were just sabotaged.
Leave it in. No cuts on this. But listen, it's just
this is where we get our comment from Dan down the bottom saying that you would do the same thing in fantasy football. Rigging these efforts.
We should follow up on that quickly here. So eventually ESPN fixed it and you lost that game. Did you win this week?
No.
Okay, so you are winless.
Correct.
In fantasy football, but you're making money in gambling. So, only enough brain power for one of those things.
Comes out in the wash.
So, obviously, as the commissioner, when something goes awry, you get accused of tomfoolery, if you will. And I take my job very seriously. I would never do that. I didn't do that. But then our dear friend John, who thought we were being sarcastic and quoted our dear friend John in a text to us in the league group chat after listening to this podcast. Our dear friend John jumped on the bandwagon and was like, I don't know, maybe I'm getting screwed. And then our dear friend John, who was undefeated, most points in the league, ? Second most points, something like that, played me, whose team has been falling apart and was accused of rigging, I don't know, the 3-man rush team against the non-3-man rushers in the fantasy football league. And then my team just decided to show up and I kicked his ass. So sorry, John. Am I cheating? The world will never know. All right, moving on. I'm not. I wouldn't do that. The San Francisco 49ers are 6.5-point favorites when they head to Carolina to take on the Panthers. I don't even know what to make of this game. This is another line that has moved, and I didn't mess this one up. But before, the original line we had in here was 49ers by 4.5, and that is where it opened. The public clearly does not agree, maybe getting a little bit of a Monday Night Football boost after blowing out the defending Super Bowl champion Rams, who, as I've said earlier on this podcast, Vegas and the public, I do not think are ready to have the conversation that the Rams just aren't that good anymore. Tough pill to swallow. So we're seeing that play out in the line here. So 49ers favored by 6.5 in Carolina. I don't know. Tommy, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they got one. It's moved 2 points. They got 1 point for the Monday night boost, and they got another point for the we're facing Matt Rule boost.
The rule.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
and I'm just going to stick with what I have all year, and I'm going to take the 49ers because one of these teams is coached by Matt Rule and the other one is not. So that's all I got to say.
Do you have the record for what the Panthers are against the spread? Because that also can't be good. They have to be the anti-Falcons.
I know that they beat it. Obviously, they beat it against the Saints because they won that game. And I know that they lost last week, so that's at least 1-1. Yeah,
they're at least 0-2-1. They lost last week. They're probably 0-3-1. I'll figure it out while you tell me who you're taking in this game.
I'm on the same side as Tommy. I would have loved it at 4, but it's at 6.5 now, so we're still going to take it. Again, that's a weird line, but starting at 4, I mean, and going to 6.5, I don't think they just stopped at 6.5 because I think that they're just giving themselves the extra wiggle room for the people that bet on it at -4. So,
and J.C. Horn is a good player for the Panthers, but their run game is clicking way too well that he'll shut down a receiver, but he can't do everything.
Fair enough. For the record, I thought we had a push in there, but I believe what I'm looking at is probably going by the closing lines versus the opening lines or close to opening lines that we would have had on the podcast. But the Panthers are 1-3 against the spread based on that this year. So fair enough. I wasn't listening to anything you said, Carl. Are you going with the 49ers or the Panthers?
49ers.
Great.
Follow me.
We are in agreement.
Yeah, I'm following
on that.
Tommy.
Yes, that's exactly what you're doing. And I'm following everybody because I'm the caboose. So I'm also going to go with the 49ers. Listen, I'm not out on the Panthers. When the Giants have the seventh seed final playoff spot, I think anything can happen. I was kind of hoping for the midseason Matt Rule firing boost and someone that can come in and, I don't know, elevate that defense, utilize that offense properly. But we'll see. For now, we're stuck with Matt Rule, and we should just roll with the 49ers. Never a good sign when we all agree. Don't love that. All right. Moving on, we've got our London game, another London game this week. The Green Bay Packers are technically the home team, but again, this is in London. The Packers are favored by 8 over the aforementioned Giants. Fascinating 6 versus 7 playoff seed battle as it stands right now. Weird things happen in London, Carl, and we just saw the New England Patriots, who I don't know if they're good or not. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes. But they almost beat Aaron Rodgers this past week. So I don't know. Can the Giants do the same thing across the pond?
I'm going to say no. I do think this is going to be an ugly game. I think that the Packers are going to show up and take care of business. So I am going to lay the points with the Packers. And I've done my research last week for London games. And a bet that I didn't share with people, but it did hit, and I did bet it. I can post a receipt if we need to, is both teams to score over 20 points. I like
Seems
that.
To always happen, right?
It happens more often than not, and I don't know what the reason is, but instead of just taking the over 41 or whatever it was this past week, I took both teams to score more than 20, which was better odds. It obviously had to go over if they were going to score more than 20 each. But I was banking on the fact that it would be like a higher scoring game relatively, and wasn't too far over 20 for each team. But if you're looking for like some positive odds, typically both teams to score more than 20, regardless on the matchup, is a good way to like necessarily not bet the over. Whatever that number is, but just root for scoring in general. Because I think in London, they like to see scoring. They try and light it up. There's some weird stuff that happens over the pond. So both teams to score over 20. Haven't looked at the odds specifically for this matchup, but I wouldn't be surprised if it happened, especially the way we saw the Packers play against the Patriots. And we'll see I think they can put up points, and they can probably let up some points too. So
I'm not sure if the Packers defense is actually as good as we think it is, or have said that it is. It should be. We haven't really seen it every week. But no disrespect to Saquon Barkley, but he's the only guy that you have to stop. And I don't know, that just lends itself to a blowout when you're a team of the caliber of the Green Bay Packers. So I will also lay the points and go with Packers here.
So my thing is, like, this is shaping up to be a lot like what this past game against New England was. The Packers should get Jair Alexander back, but like you said, it doesn't really matter considering Daniel Jones is the quarterback and they don't have anybody to throw to. But I just think after last week, this is a really, really big spread for a team that didn't look like they're facing a similar offense. And guess what? The Patriots were still able to run all over them, even though the Packers knew that the Patriots are running. And now they just get to play who is the best running back in football this year so far. And so I just think that 8 points is too big of a spread for all these weird, wacky factors. So I think the Packers will win, but I'm going to take the Giants. And I'm going to take the 8 points with the Giants.
I don't hate the logic. I just hate the players that you're tying it to.
I get that.
Yep, but fair enough.
I made that mistake with New England, and it's a very similar scenario.
That's fair. Is Brian Daboll Bill Belichick?
No, that's fair.
All right. No, I mean, hey, pick lays, pick play. Yeah, maybe you win this one. I'm just asking for the listening public. All right, moving on. All right, let's just fly through this one. The Steelers and new quarterback Kenny Pickett are taking on the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are favored by a whopping 14 points. This is the largest opening spread we have had this season. I'm going with the Bills. Like, it could be 25, and I would probably go with it's like a college game. I would probably go with the Bills. So does anybody disagree with me?
I don't disagree with you. I'll also actually be at this game because it's the Steelers and it's close to home, and gotta support the wife. But we're gonna not be wearing any Steelers uniform, any Steelers gear. We're just gonna lay low. We're just gonna go enjoy a day of football. Whatever happens, happens. But yeah, secretly on the inside, I'll be rooting for the Bills to blow them out by more than 14 because I'm gonna pick them right here.
So you've now been to more Steelers games this season than Patriots games. You married a Steelers fan, Carl. Do we need an intervention? Do we need to change the name of the podcast to, like, I don't know, the 2-man Patriots and 1-man Steelers fan podcast? It's a terrible name, but like, if that's what you want.
I've got my jersey right there. There's no Steelers jersey up here anymore.
No, there's not. That's a pretty small jersey compared to that pretty large Buccaneers flag, though. I don't know.
It's weird. I did just notice you changed your fantasy team name to TJ Watt's Good Peck. So,
listen, I will say that this Steelers team is definitely way worse without TJ Watt. This season could be going slightly differently, not drastically differently. But the reason why they won the Bengals game in week 1 is because of TJ Watt. Obviously, he played 95% of the game, probably 99 statistically. And then they've had close enough games, like the Patriots game. I think they probably would have won if they had TJ Watt in, just based on the way that game went.
Yeah.
So their records are going to be a little bit different, but I mean, he's a huge factor and he makes everything go, which is very clear. Obviously they're struggling on offense and had to put Kenny Pickett in. We don't need to spend any more time breaking down the Steelers. I obviously watch enough Steelers game that I could break it down, but yeah, TJ Watt makes a huge difference for that team. It's definitely visible now that he's not there.
I was going to say, I agree with you. I'm taking the Bills here. My one point is that we might be seeing a masterclass of bungling potential rookie quarterback.
Saw that tweet.
To throw him into the fire against the Jets when you could have given him they went from a Thursday game to a full week and a half of practice. He could have been preparing as a starter. And now if you look at their upcoming schedule, 9 of their next 10 opponents are scary.
Right. I think we talked about it next week. They've got a gauntlet. We talked about it next week. We talked about it last week. They have a gauntlet starting next week, right? I mean, they've got the Bills, they've got the Bucks. I don't remember the rest off the top of my head. They've got the Dolphins in there. I mean, they're basically playing like the class of the NFL right now, and it's not getting any easier for the next 6 or 7 weeks. It's a tough spot to be in for young Mr. Pickett and his tiny hands that fumbled the ball and threw interceptions and did all those things. So,
what was that stat though, Tommy, that you had? Maybe it was you, maybe it wasn't you.
Yeah, no, it was me. PFF out of his. I mean, it was only 10 throws, so a small sample size, but none of them were interception worthy. I didn't see them. Maybe you did, but according to them, none of his 3 interceptions were on him.
So, we'll see.
Yeah,
like you said though, the upcoming schedule for the Steelers is at Buffalo, Tampa Bay, at Miami, at Philadelphia. So not the
even just even the next month alone. Yeah, okay.
And then bye week. So
yeah, so regardless of the plays being interception worthy or not, it's a good stat, Tommy. But you still threw 3 interceptions against a defense that is not as good as the ones you're about to play, and we shall see. I don't know. I don't think it's going to turn out well for Kenny Pickett, and I think we all agree with that. Okay, the LA Chargers are favored by 3. They're headed to Cleveland to take on the Browns. I don't really like this spot. I don't like the Chargers should be favored because they should be better than most teams in football, but I don't know. Like what are the Browns doing? Like I don't know. I'm just gonna make this one quick, and I'm going to lead us off and say I'm taking the Chargers. They're only laying 3 points, and I can live with that. I could be very wrong. It's kind of a stay away for me. I think that like that -3 puts us in the Vegas zone where there's going to be a lot of bets on both sides, and Vegas is going to make money no matter what. They usually do, but that's why they're Vegas. But I'm going with the Chargers -3.
I'm also going to go with the Chargers here. I really liked how Austin Eckler finally showed up. Not that that's on him. That was probably more on the coaching staff, but last week was his coming out party for the year. I think he'll continue that considering the entirety of the Browns starting defensive line is questionable coming into this game. So I think this is a get right spot for the Chargers to like ball out a little bit more. Only -3 against those kind of injuries. I'll take that.
I'm to no surprise to anyone, I'm going to be on the other side of this one. I've already established what side I was going to be on before you guys had your picks. But I think if Nick Chubb can get the ball rolling and really set the tone, I think it's going to be a tough matchup for the Chargers. So I'm going to take the Browns at home, if I'm reading this correctly. Browns at home getting 3 points. I'll take that with Jacoby Brissett, game manager, Nick Chubb running the ball. I guess I'm alone. I'll take it.
That's pretty good.
I should bet it right now, actually, now that I think about it.
All right, well, while you do that, we're going to move on to the Detroit Lions headed to New England to take on the Patriots, who are favored by 3 points now. It's pretty crazy to me that the Patriots are favored over anybody. I guess the defense is better than we think it is. I don't know who's going to play for Detroit. So I don't know. We just saw Belichick and that defense nearly beat Aaron Rodgers. I think, especially if we don't have Amon-Ra St. Brown or DeAndre Swift in this game, there's a decent chance that Bill Belichick can beat Jared Goff. The question is, like, can the Patriots not turn the ball over? So I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're going to play very safe football, like Bailey Zappi or Brian Hoyer, if he clears concussion protocol, I don't know, are not going to throw a ton, like maybe 10 times, 15 times max. We're going to see a lot of running. This is going to be like a 2.5-hour football game. We're going to bleed the clock. It's going to be low scoring, and they're going to try to just shut down the Lions with defense and a run game. So I guess I'm going to take the Patriots in this one. I don't really feel great about it. 2 weeks ago, I would have been all over the Lions. But this week, give me the Pats. Pats by 3. I'll go with it. I don't feel good.
I'm the one going to this game. So I'm gonna bet with my heart on this one because I want to have some joy while I'm at the stadium. I'm also going to take the Patriots. One of the other things I wanted to mention about this game is a little. If you want to look at player props, you want to funnel all of that to Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris as the Patriots running backs, because On 35% of all the rushing attempts against the Lions this year, they've either resulted in a first down or a touchdown. And the Patriots, as you said, Bailey Zappi, they're going to need to game manage that. They're going to focus. It's funneling right towards the run. So all the overs for the Patriots running backs, I would hammer them.
Love it. Carl?
I have 2 words for you, and that is throwback uniforms.
Also true.
We are wearing the white helmets with the red jerseys for the first time in God knows how long.
A decade, 10 years.
Yes. And by God, I mean Pat, clearly. And I thought you were Moses, but yeah, so they're going to show up for the fans, laying points, Patriots by a touchdown. Let's take it.
Pats by a million.
Pats by a million. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be fun to see. Tom Brady's not obviously wearing the throwback uniforms, but when I think of the throwback uniforms, I think of the game they played the Titans and Randy Moss just like lighting up the Titans in the snowstorm.
In the snow, put up what, 50 points?
Yep, 54.
Insane. There was like 5 touchdowns for them in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
First quarter, I think.
Yeah.
Is that Tom Brady's 7 touchdown game? I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it has to be, right? You throw 5 in the first quarter.
It might not have been because I think Lawrence Maroney had a good game that day.
All right. Well, I'll
his career.
I'll look that up because we could just go on nostalgically about the Patriots forever. Reminisce about those glory days when we did have the face of the league and it wasn't Bailey Zappi. So while we move off of that, I think we should move into the Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets. Rapid fire here. Dolphins don't have Tua. They do have Teddy Bridgewater. They're still favored by 3 points in New York/New Jersey. Tommy, what do you think?
This is a tough one because I really don't. I mean, I like the Dolphins, but Sauce Gardner has really showed up. This is going to be an interesting game. Actually, I really want to see that one matchup of him versus Tyreek or Jalen, whichever one he covers. But like I said earlier, I think even with Teddy Bridgewater, I think he's going to be fine for the time that they need him to be in there. So I'll take the Dolphins, even though they're underdogs here. Or no, I'll take the Dolphins. Sorry, laying the points. Sorry,
Carl.
Okay, this is ugly for me. I do like to take underdogs though, and I'm gonna go with the Jets. It's a close spread for me at 3. It's like that magic number that we always talk about, but I'm just going to take the home dog for me today with the Jets. And like Tommy said, hope that something can happen where it stays a close game. We've seen the Dolphins blow teams out or at least win games that like we didn't think they were going to win. And we've also seen the Jets kind of play up to their opponents as well. I don't know, man. I don't like the Jets. I'm not really going to root for them. I probably won't bet on this game because I'll be hurt either way. But for the podcast, give me the Jets.
I'm going with the Dolphins. I've decided that I believe in the Dolphins, even though they hurt my feelings on that Thursday night game. Tua shouldn't have played, and then Tua did play, and then Tua got hurt. And I think on a short week on the road, when your quarterback gets really fucked up like that, I mean, it would have been a big statement victory for them to win that game. But I'm not off the Dolphins yet. So give me the Dolphins. And just following up here, it was 59 points that the Patriots scored. It was 59-0, the final of that game against the Titans in the snow. Tom Brady threw 5 touchdown passes in the second quarter, but only 6 overall. Lawrence Maroney did run one in. And then Brian Hoyer, old friend, new friend, same friend. Brian Hoyer had a 1-yard rushing touchdown in the third quarter because Brady got pulled literally in the third quarter. That's how, because they were up 52-0. Insane. All right. Oh man, I missed that. All right, moving on. The Texans are taking on the Jaguars. The Jaguars are favored by 7. I don't care that the Texans have been plucky and upstart. Give me the Jags. I will lay the points. Jags by 7. That's my pick.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. I picked them as my division winner for the AFC South earlier on this pod. I just think that this will be like a little showing up game. I do still like the Texans. Davis Mills hasn't really impressed me, but I think this week 7 points is just too easy for me to take. So give me the Jags.
You're gonna play contrarian here, Carl?
Yeah, I am. I don't have the Texans winning this game, but I think 7's a little too much for the spread. So I'm going to go Texans. I was on the Texans actually early in the season, and they covered for me. I think they might have went out right in that game. So I'm going to ride with the Texans. It's going to be ugly. I'm not going to love it, but Texans it is.
Texans it is. All right. The Seahawks are heading to New Orleans to take on the Saints. Saints are favored by 5.5 points. I don't think we have any idea who's going to play in this game. I don't even want to talk about it. It feels really hard. Like, do we have a health update? Do we know? Because I don't know. I think James is going to be questionable for the rest of the season. Michael Thomas looked really great in week 1 and has looked worse and worse by the week. And then he missed the game last week. Alvin Kamara is a late scratch there. Like, everything says that I should take the Seahawks. And I don't like that, but I think I'm just going to, I don't know. My gut says the Saints because I think it's a better defense still, and the Seahawks are not a good team, but I like getting 5.5 points. So I just talked myself into it because if the Saints are healthy, I'll regret it, but give me the Seahawks and the points this week.
I'm going to take the other side, not just to be different from you, but just in general. I'm going to go out the Saints by hopefully a touchdown, obviously. I mean, 5.5 is close enough to a touchdown for me. It is a touchdown with the extra point. It will be tough for them coming back from London. So that is a concern for me. But if it's another week of Kamara being healthy because he didn't have to play last week and doesn't really have to deal with that, like, travel in the terms of having to play the game and then travel, I'm going to kind of use that to my advantage. Geno Smith has been really good, though. I saw a stat that he could throw his next, 40 passes into the ground and still have a better completion percentage or passer rating than Russell Wilson. So he's really been playing well in Seattle, but it is what it is. I'm going to go with the Saints.
Yeah, I agree with your logic, Pat, because this is just a complete sludge match, and 5.5 points is a big spread for a sludge match, in my opinion. But at the same time, I do think the fact that Kamara didn't play last week is going to help them. I think he's going to play this week, and I think that extra week is going to help them. I don't think Seattle's defense is doing them any favors at all, and I just think that this is a good matchup for the Saints to feast up a little bit on them. So I'll take the Saints. I was leaning Seattle, but I've turned the other way. I'll take the Saints.
Hate my life. All right, last two. Let's do these ones quickly. The Titans are favored by 2.5 points against the Commanders, and they're on the road, the Titans, and the Bears are heading to Chicago. I'm sorry. The Bears are leaving Chicago. They're heading to Minnesota, where the Vikings are favored by 7. I'm going to give you both at once. It's a 2-for-1 special. Give me the Titans and give me the Vikings because the Commanders and the Bears suck.
Yeah, I'm going to take the exact same too. The Commanders are trash. I think the Derrick Henry is going to run all over them. The Vikings, I mean, there's a little bit more trepidation there with the travel back from London. And the Bears they've been bad, but they're still 2-2, so the record is their record. But I'll still take the Vikings here.
Who are we taking? Titans and Vikings? Yeah. Sign me up. Cosign. I'm on it.
Double
Love
sweep.
that. Love that. All right. All right, here's my question for you, gentlemen. Through 5 weeks of the season, we have made 12 best bet picks, and the best of the best that we have made here. We are 2-10. So, do we want to give the public best bets, or do we want to have an exorcism for the week, sprinkle a little holy water, and come back strong in week 6? You guys can decide.
I say we keep doing it. The only way to fix our record is to keep trying to make it's like chucking up threes. Yeah, the only way to snap a cold streak is to keep chucking them.
Okay. All right. Sounds great. Then in that case, Tommy, you're up first with our best bets.
All right, hold on. Let me just take a look through this little Rolodex that I have going on here.
You could be like
actually,
Stephen.
know what?
You could be like Stephen A. and like give one of your best bets as the opposite of your real pick. That way you can't lose.
Oh my god.
I think the Vikings are going to score more points than the Bears, but I'm going to pick the Bears to win the game.
You know what? I'm actually screw Josh McDaniels. Give me the Chiefs -7. That's my best bet.
That's a good one.
Wow, that's a big one. All right, Carl, give me yours. Best bet of the week.
Give me the Cleveland Browns over the Chargers. In a bold prediction, but we're
Just fully doubling down. You're on the island there and taking it.
that's what I got to do.
Oh, all right. We're going strong with our best bets. I don't really like any of them this week. I'm give me the Eagles 5.5 points against the Cardinals team that I told you doesn't have a defense. Eagles 5.5, best bet of the week. Crazy analysis. I took the undefeated team in football to stay undefeated. Wild. Good job by me.
I'm surprised you didn't take the Falcons, knowing that they were undefeated versus the spread.
Listen, who am I? Just a mere mortal to bet against Tom Brady.
Fair.
As a bonus pick, I was originally going to take the Titans because that's a small spread when I think they're going to win.
Fair enough.
I don't hate that.
Wonderful. Well, that just about does it for us. Tommy, I know you gave us a couple of you sprinkled in some of those props there with the Patriots running backs. You love your prop bets. Anything else that you're looking at this week?
I mean, just to further those, I was looking at Ramondre yardage bets, and if you want to take Damian Harris whatever the odds are for multiple touchdowns, I think he's going to get walking in the end zone a couple times.
Multiple touchdowns.
Multiple.
I like that.
Ooh, all right. So like anytime touchdown score, Damian Harris, 1+ touchdown score, 2 touchdown scores. I like it.
Yes. The other one is George Pickens because Kenny loves throwing to him, and he is a talented receiver. And they already showed a connection last week, and I think that's only been his first week popping off, so the yardage should still be low enough that you can get. And
they will be throwing the ball a lot.
Yep,
from behind.
And the Bills don't have the Bills. Like I said, the Bills secondary is their weak point on defense right now because of injuries, so they can get some garbage time yardage at the end there.
Amazing. All right. Well, listen, I don't even know how to wrap it up anymore. I'm so far up everybody else's ass in last place that I'm just going to say good night and good luck. Now, Tommy, what do we do with the sports book?
Good luck at your local sports book this week, folks.
I need a couple points. I need a couple hours of sleep. I need a couple wins.